And we will talk today about next slide, please. In this session, we'll talk today about theory of change versus log frame. It's one of the most important question to clarify before any conversation. And then we will talk about a few things like what is an indicator, purpose of indicator, characteristics of a good indicator. If you have been a monitoring and evaluation person for last few years, you may feel this as unnecessary because this is M&E 101, but there are, I assume, a lot of people who are non-M&E people in this room as well. And plus, there are sometimes an indicator definition or why we use it or what it is may change from the donor to donor. So it's necessary for us to explain that as well from BHA point of view, what is an indicator and purpose of indicators and characteristics of a good indicator. Then we will dive deeper into the types of indicators. I already talked about that in the previous Q&A session, but here we will talk about the not just the impact outcome output, but also like BHA's performance monitoring versus baseline indicators. And then how do you choose an appropriate indicator? That's also important. So those who already have a good understanding of M&E, I thank them for being with me and spending their time, even though they know a lot of this stuff. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's get the TOC versus log frame out of our way. And I speak this from my own experience in some of our previous RIFSAs where I have worked directly with. There was not few, but like most of the staff were like, okay, we have a theory of change and all the areas we have identified, and if, then, and what. If you have worked in the emergency programs, a theory of change is very simple. It just says, if I do this, then this will happen, right? And so it's something that you do, like something that's in your control. I'm going to feed people food, they will eat it, and they will sustain their food consumption score, is the theory of change. It's the part that you're going to do. But for RIFSA, specifically the development programs here, that's not theory of change. A theory of change, if you remember from the previous presentation, is a very complex web. So in your case, a theory of change would include where you are going to work in Haiti, everything related to that area, political environment, social environment, health, geographical environment, different things that you could do, different things that should be done, different things that may influence RIFSA as well. Everything goes in a theory of change that shows if you do these many things, multiple changes might happen, and then they will reach this goal. So that is a theory of change, but you're not getting enough money from BHA to do everything. That's a lot of work, and that will be done by the local government, other NGOs, other partners, as well as you. That's theory of change. So let's take an example. If you go to a restaurant, the restaurant is making a lot of stuff, and all the things that are in the menu will satisfy your hunger. But are you going to eat all the food that a restaurant has to offer? You can't. That's a lot of food, and you may not even have money to pay for everything. So what you do is you say, I'm going to eat today, pay you money so I could feel full, and out of the whole menu, please give me rice, beans, and let's say juice. I ate that food in Lake High, so I remember. So I'm going to eat this, and this is going to be my meal. We do the same thing for log frame. When you are looking at theory of change, it's a lot of work. It's too many complicated things. From that, you're going to choose 1, 2, and 3, maybe, like outcome pathway. And you say, I have only $50 million for next 5 years, and I could do only these 3 things. And they will be transferred to your log frame. So theory of change for RIFSAs is completely opposite of how you write theory of change in emergency programs. Where in emergency programs, it's something that you're going to do. In RIFSA, it's everything. But something that you're just going to do is your log frame. Next slide, please. And this is the example of what I just said. You know, a theory of change may have many things in it. And that's both this orange color and the blue color. But once you look at theory of change, you as RIFSA want to say, no, I want to work only on 2 pathways because that's how much time I have, how much money I have, or the type of skill I have. And those are, imagine these orange pathways. So the orange pathways will go into your log frame. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we define an indicator? Basically, I'm not going to go through each and every bullet point, but in summary, basically you want some kind of reference, like, you know, I hear some people talking. Is it possible to mute, please? Thank you. It's basically indicator is a reference system. If you say I am, you know, I have a cloth that's 1 meter long, so hopefully you have a yardstick that's actually like telling you, yes, it is 1 meter. You can't just randomly pick up a cloth and say this is 1 meter. So that stick that you're using to measure a cloth is your indicator. So similarly, we would like it to be some kind of yardstick, something, a sign or a symptom or a definition, and that is an indicator. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, how we want this is, so, and you know, we want, you must have heard the word SMART, S-M-A-R-T. What that says is the indicator must be specific, right? That's directly related to your outcome. It should be measurable. The indicator has the capacity to be counted. It should, and okay, let's stop there. Specific and measurable. So for example, if you are promising that the yield of agricultural output will increase in the areas and geographies in Haiti where you will work, you can't say, oh, the yield will increase many folds, or there will be very high yield. The word high and manifold is not specific. It's not measurable. Just a change of, you know, 1 quintal may be high for one person, but for other person, that may not be high enough. So you may want to say, we would like to increase the average yield, agricultural yield by 25%. So we know whatever comes to baseline, we are increasing 25% from baseline. So it's like very specific, very measurable, and then achievable. It should be achievable. You can't have some kind of target or an indicator, you know, that you can't even achieve. You can't, you know, increase the yield 10 times or 15 times that no one has seen in the past, or with the type of money and time you have, you may not be able to achieve it. And we're fine with it. You know, BHA has been implementing RIFSAs for several years with implementing partners, and we know what's achievable and what's not. So we would like you to be realistic and work with you together to set those achievable and, you know, like targets and indicators. It should be relevant. It should be a valid measure of your result. You can't just have a proxy indicator that really doesn't speak to your work. And timely. You may have a very good indicator and very, you know, specific, measurable, achievable, but it's just not timely. By the time you measure it, it doesn't even, you know, make any sense, doesn't tell you anything because the time has passed. You should have collected maybe like, you know, 5 months ago. So the indicator should also be timely. Next slide, please. Okay, indicators can be impact level, outcome, output, process, and context. Let's just take very quick examples on that. Context indicator is basically, that's just, you know, tells us the larger context that's governing your work. So may want to talk about seasons, may want to talk about market prices. And these could be very much qualitative as well as quantitative. There is no like strict guideline on that. And same goes for like process indicator. It's not about your performance, it's about how you're working, and within that work there are some things that you want to measure that may be contributing to your work, are process indicators. Now, output indicators are the direct result of your work. If you are training someone and you say, I trained 50 people, so that 50 people trained is an output indicator. That's a direct result of what you just did. And it's very much in your control. If you are training someone, they are getting training or achieving knowledge or something else. Like this is very much in your control. But the outcome is what they are going to do with that knowledge, or that, maybe an object that you have provided or something like that. And that's not in your control. For example, number of hectares under improved management practices or technologies. So BHA partners may be training farmers, right? Or providing them some kind of a demonstration, or showing them demonstration plots, giving a booklet, or some kind of, having agriculture extension workers along, working with farmers and everything. Those are all outputs. But what farmers do with that information or that support is totally, it's up to them. And so number of hectares under improved management practice is totally out of our control, and they are under outcome indicators. And then impact indicators is like even further removed from outcome. It's like a result of probably 2 or 3 outcomes put together. That is an impact level indicators. Next, please. So yeah, on previous slide, just wanted to say that, but basically a lot of them don't have, like, are easy to guess, or, fairly easy to guess. And this is going to be a similar process as you start building your IPTT log frame. In case you are stuck or don't know where to put it, BHA M&E advisors will be available to you all the time. And please work cooperate. You could cooperate and collaborate with us. This one, so indicators can be quantitative. So those were the levels of indicators from top to bottom, impact all the way to, output, context indicator. But then the other way you could slice the indicators are quantitative and qualitative. So like for quantitative, as a self-explanatory, it's, it's a number. It tells you the yield of targeted crops, or number of people, or amount of so and so. For qualitative, it's perception on government extension services, and that could be, good, very good, I'm not sure, kind of, answer, or it could be a focus group discussion results. So it's qualitative. So BHA welcomes both kind of indicators, and for partners to have quantitative and qualitative. Next one, please. I want to ask, should we stop here? I see there is a question in the chat box that says, impact and outcome indicators have been used interchangeably by some partners. What's the key differences between both, please? So I think I should answer that, and let's stay on this slide. So impact and outcome indicators. So here is the overall picture. Almost everything is an outcome, right? As soon as a partner provides a training, or provides, food, or provides any input, right, that creates an output. As soon as output is done, beneficiaries are supposed to do something as a result of that. And that's an outcome. And from there, it depends on the donor, it depends on organization. People would call short-term outcome, long-term outcome, or, objectives or purpose level, but they're all like outcomes as they are the result of our input and outputs. And it's a hierarchy of outcomes. So in our conversation, when we say it's an outcome indicator, basically we are looking for short to intermediate term change. If I have provided a training to a group of people, and as a result of that, they change their behavior or practices, in next 6 months to 9 months to a year, I would consider that as an outcome indicator. Impact indicator sometimes could be an outcome indicator, like if that's if it's a short-term program, 2-year program, all they are looking for is change in some behavior, and that's the impact of their program. But for RIFSAs, generally speaking, an impact indicator is a way far away indicator that will be achieved in a couple of years with the combination of 1, 2, or 3 outcome indicators coming together. So that's the difference between impact and outcome indicators. There are some indicators which are very tricky, like I talked about the yield of the crop yield. Even we use them interchangeably sometimes, either outcome or impact indicators. Why? I don't know. We are also not perfect. So a lot of times we confuse ourselves too. Okay, I see that person says they understood, so I'm glad. About this slide, log frame structure and indicator. So just wanted to quickly recap. Do you remember we talked about theory of change is a large structure, large framework. Out of that, we are extracting only few pieces that are going into a log frame. So a log frame is not everything that's in TOC. So in log frame, we BHA do not want partners to provide all indicators. We only want you to start with output. Actually, even there shouldn't be input, so that's our mistake. In the log frame, please begin with output indicators. We only want output, outcome, purpose, and goal level indicators. Nothing below that should stay in log frame. Please go ahead and put all that in IPTT. In IPTT, you can have every indicator that you have for your program. So that's the most comprehensive document that we will receive. But for log frame, please keep it shorter. And yeah, that's that. Next slide, please. Sources of indicator. And I kind of like a little bit talked about this already. You may want to look at BHA Feed the Future, indicator handbook, or mission indicators. So Haiti mission is, since Haiti mission is the overarching umbrella of all USAID different bureaus programming in Haiti. So they may have their own indicators as well, that you must include in your IPTT. And then custom indicators. Custom indicator, you already got the flavor of how to develop, how to choose custom indicators. And a combination of all of these will become your list of indicators. A word of caution here. I want to let you know that the indicator handbook that BHA provides for performance indicators has only 40 indicators. So even if you end up picking every indicator that we are suggesting, you still have only 40 indicators. But from our experience from other RIFSAs, and we have around like 24 or 25 of them, a typical RIFSA submits around 200 or more than 200 indicators in their IPTT. So if 40 are standard, 160 are custom indicators. So that's one reality check. And our recommendation to you is please be judicious. If you are designing a custom indicator, make sure it's really, really relevant for you to collect that information and for us to see. If you think there is an indicator that's important for you to track internally, but may not be important for BHA to see, please keep them separate. Don't submit that to us. Because reason for that is more indicators there are in an IPTT, you as an IP will spend a lot of time collecting information and putting them into IPTT. And we as BHA will spend more time in reviewing And both parties don't like that. We don't want to work unless we really need to. So please save yourself, save us as well. Provide only the most relevant information and keep your IPTT as focused and small as possible. That helps us track the program. More indicators do not impress BHA. So I wanted to leave that as as an advice. Next slide, please. Okay, when you look at our handbooks, you will see from our list. So I'm talking specifically about performance monitoring indicators, because baseline and evaluation indicators are mostly for like third-party contractors who are conducting those baselines and evaluations. You may pick some indicators from there, but most of the indicators that you will collect information in your regular monitoring or annual surveys are from performance management. That's the RIFSA indicator handbook. That's your friend when you are building your IPTT. In that, we have required indicators. All RIFSAs must report on those indicators. Good news is there is only one indicator that's required. That's PM1, the first indicator. It basically asks for the number of beneficiaries that you are serving through RIFSA. That's PM1 indicator. It's mandatory for everyone, hence it is a required indicator. The rest 39 are required if applicable. Those indicators belong to agriculture activities, market activities, wash, nutrition, and every RIFSA is different. So please look at those 39 indicators and pick if any of those indicators are like applicable to your RIFSA. Hence, we have marked them as RIA. A typical RIFSA has around 15 to 16 of those indicators in their IPTT, and depending on how multi-sectoral, how broad a RIFSA is. Next slide, please. Then two categories. I think we have already discussed that. Another way to slice is the baseline or final evaluation indicators. Mostly BHA indicators are included in baseline and final evaluations. Partners may request the like third-party contractors to add a couple of indicators, but there are not too many. Very high-level outcomes and population-level survey. Do you remember baseline and evaluations collect information on these indicators from the whole population? That includes your beneficiaries and non-beneficiaries. Compared to that, the monitoring indicators are the performance monitoring indicators. They include BHA's standard indicator, mission indicator, or IP custom indicators, as many as you like, but keep them limited, please. The custom indicators. They are prefixed as PM. So when we say BL are baseline indicators, so 01 to 040, and then PM are performance monitoring indicators, and PM01 to PM40. And they are a combination of outputs and outcomes. It's not written here, but baseline indicators are in RIFSA Indicator Handbook 1, and monitoring indicators are in RIFSA Indicator Handbook 2. Next slide, please. Okay, how mission indicators, I think someone may be presenting on it tomorrow, but I wanted to quickly go over mission indicators. So what are mission indicators? Every USAID mission in each country has a CDCS, so country development, country strategy. I hope I'm not wrong. And they have some indicators to track the progress of overall US government's investment in that country. And under that, they have their own M&E plan, and under that M&E plan, they have a set of indicators. So you may have to add some of those, not all, but some indicators in your IPTT. It could just be like 2 or 3 indicators or 1 indicator, or a limited set of indicators that go in your IPTT. And they could measure both output and outcome. And they tend to be annual indicators, which is like, you don't have to report on them very often, except you could do it with your annual reporting. Next slide, please. Custom indicators, we have talked about that, even though they are custom, but please make sure they are specific to the activity. They are SMART indicators, if you remember, SMART. And if you are developing a custom indicator, so like all the standard indicators, when you will look at our handbook, in our handbook, you will see that there is a PIRS, a performance indicator reference sheet for each indicator that we have prepared for you. But if you are adding a custom indicator to your IPTT, please make sure you develop a PIRS for that indicator. We would like to know, how do you define that indicator? What components are in that indicator? How are you calculating that indicator? What kind of disaggregates you are using in that indicator? And when will you report on that? Is that like an outcome indicator, like a baseline type of indicator, or is it an annual reporting indicator? So all that to say, each indicator must have its own PIRS. And I'm going to go back to that. More and more custom indicators you create, more and more PIRS you will have to develop, and we will have to review. So please develop only a limited set that's highly relevant to your program. Standard indicator, or you could also pick up some of those custom indicators. You don't have to start from zero. You could use it from your internal organizations. Like if CRS has some standard indicators on food security, you could use them. You could borrow from other CRS RIFSAs that are being implemented in different countries. You could borrow it from international organizations like World Food Program or FAO's indicators. That's all okay with us, as long as they are accompanied by individual PIRS. And there are some examples at the bottom of this slide that I will not read, but it just says, what type of indicators could be used as custom indicators. Next slide, please. Okay, environmental indicators. So there are two types of environmentally sensitive indicators for BHA M&E system. There could be standalone environmental indicators, and these are like, like very much focused on environment itself, like directly, as if you are implementing a environment sector program. Or there could be indicators like that are like, integrated with the food security program indicators for a RIFSA. Like, for example, if you are working on economic development, ag development, and within that you are working on climate smart agriculture, something like that. So like your non-environment type of work is actually contributing towards or integrating into environment focused work. Your indicator could be that way too. A typical BHA RIFSA is not 100% solely focused on environment. It is generally has food security components, which all lead to the environment, improvement of the environment. And so you would have environmentally sensitive indicators instead of environment focused indicators. A lot of that information will be provided tomorrow. Please don't ask me questions on this one. And we have an expert coming tomorrow that will focus on the integration of environmental sensitivities into M&E system tomorrow. Next slide, please. Okay, so I have been talking to you about RIFSA indicator handbooks, right? Handbook 1, handbook 2, or we have also talked about the requirements for IPTT or log frame. So BHA has developed a single page. So if you go and Google USAID BHA partner with us, it will take you to this page that you see here on the slide. On the right-hand side is the screenshot of that page. This page will open for you on the screen. And there you will see multiple blue colored boxes. And the one that has the red arrow on it, it says resilience food security activities. That's your friend. That's your go-to page. When you click on that, it has, I think it has almost every document, every support guidance document that you need from BHA. It has prep guidance, it has RFAs, it has the BHA's RIFSA M&E technical guidance. It has all the indicator handbooks. It also has, I think, IPTT recommended template. So majority of the information that you need related to RIFSAs, not just M&E, but RIFSA, overall RIFSA, are on this page. Next slide, please.